G'day everybody, welcome back to Beers Illustrated, the beer blog that looks at what's going on the outside of the craft beer can. I've got a great little interview coming up today with somebody who I think is one of the most respected voices in the industry. So stick around for that one. In the meantime, you go grab a cold one, I'll run the intro. All right, so once again, I want to kind of keep going on with the idea of keeping local alive and making sure that your money's being spent where it needs to be spent. And I want to just put one sort of, I want to drive one point home. I'm not saying to you don't go and buy beers from your favorite brewery just because, people tell you that they're not independent and that your money's going overseas. Places like Green Beacon and Bolter and Pirate Life, they still have their tap rooms here and they still brew the beer in the same place that they've always brewed it. So if you go into their tap rooms, you buy a 4-pack or a 6-pack or a growler fill, you are still helping to keep local jobs alive. And you're still drinking good beer. It's still way better than a lot of the shit that's out there. What I don't want people to do is, what I'm trying to educate people and what I'm trying to help people understand is that there are some beers out there that are not craft, have never been craft, but pretend to be craft. Beers like Lorry Boys and Steam Rail and Three Pub Circus, they're all owned by Coles, never been independent, pretend to be independent, pretend to be craft beer, but they're not. They're shit beer that are brewed in giant big breweries in the same places that Great Northern and, Tooheys Extra Dry and all that shit beer is made in these giant big places with shitty ingredients. Don't buy those beers. That's what I'm trying to get forward. I want people to buy good beer, and I want to make sure that people are at least thinking about when they buy the beer that they're helping to keep local jobs alive. So this week, I wanted to sort of get a little bit more information on that side of things. So I managed to put together a little chat with Mazen from Hawkers. He's got one of the biggest beer brains, industry brains. He's got so much information in his head, and so I wanted to tap into a bit of that. So he was good enough to sort of sit down with me and have a chat over Zoom the other night. So check it out. I think it's got some great info in it, and I think there's something for everybody in it. You can take away some good stuff. So check it out. I've got one of the. To me, he's a really respected voice amongst the industry. So it's very much my pleasure this evening to be talking to Mazen from Hawkers Beer. Thank you very much, Mazen.
Thank you for having me.
No problems at all. It's time we cracked a beer. It's Friday night. And just wanted to check in, do a little bit of a follow-up to a video that I did recently in regards to independent beer and how people should go about making sure that they're buying independent beer, and also to find out how the landscape is for Hawkers at the moment. So I guess to start off with, without being too doomy and gloomy, can you sort of illustrate for us how Hawkers has been affected so far?
Well, I mean, it's obviously the market landscape has changed dramatically.
Yeah.
We had all the pubs, restaurants, cafes closed down. People seem to forget that the impact is not just the loss of that business. Mm-hmm. It's also the impact can be felt by how many dollars were in the market and how many of those aren't going to come back, and what was the stockpile of kegs that you had left. I mean, you saw a lot of articles around about how much keg beer is being dumped into the market.
I've shed tears over those articles.
Yeah. And for Hawkers specifically, this year we were up 80% in keg volume over last year, which is quite a significant number.
Yeah.
Cheers before we get into all the...
Yes.
By the way, my background is probably ruining.
It looks fantastic, though. I'm glad he actually took the effort to go out tonight into the brewery and be there for us.
Look, it's been hard for us, and in the global scheme of things, it's much better for us than it is for a lot of people out there.
Yeah.
When we look at our friends in hospital, they're suffering.
Absolutely.
Everybody's suffering. And ultimately, it doesn't really matter when you put it into perspective. We're still alive. We're still functioning. And there's a lot of people who are going through a lot of real personal pain. So without being gloomy and doomy, hawkers will survive.
That's good to hear.
For a while, we weren't very sure just because of the severity of what happened. I think we've taken a lot of corrective action. I think the local community has been very supportive. The beer drinkers have been fantastic. I mean, it's just overwhelming.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of helped us more or less helped see us through this phase, at least to get back into the market when it does reopen. Now, what happens beyond there is a totally different question.
Yeah. I mean, we don't know how many people this is affecting people currently, but we don't know how long that it's going to sort of last for people not having the money to spend. I remember saying sort of early on, I said to my wife, as soon as this is over, we are going out for a beer. And she said, well, we've got the money to do so. And that is a real worry for some people.
Well, I mean, a lot of bars, restaurants are not going to be coming back.
Yep.
A lot of people have lost their jobs. Those that are coming back with restrictions. Yep. Those that haven't lost their jobs, haven't lost their income, haven't dug into their savings, may feel genuine stress about being in the presence of others in public, right? Yeah. So it's premature to say what it'll look like on the other end and when the other end will look like. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But hopefully, one thing we've proved in this country is we are very resilient, and as a group, we take care of each other.
Yep, totally. So, mate, at the moment, how important is it to yours and other independent breweries that people go out, spend their money wisely with the breweries that matter, and supporting local and keeping the small guys alive?
It's extremely important to know where you're putting your money, right? And a lot of these multinationals have done gestures towards bars and restaurants by rebuying their kegs or doing whatever, or offering a pint for a pint, which is great. Finally, after years of dodging tax and not putting money back into the system and taking advantage of their workers, they finally pretend to give a damn. But whatever. Maybe the cynist in me comes out, because I genuinely believe that knowing who you're buying from, not so much the parochialism that comes with the area of where you're buying from, but understanding the ethos of the people who are behind the business, what they're trying to do, how they are interacting with their locals, is very important. And every dollar that you buy is a vote of what kind of a business you want to survive.
Absolutely. And it's been great as well, just sort of up here in Brisbane where I am, seeing places like Newstead Brewing have been, they've got a big Providor fridge that they've put up, and they've got local produce from other small producers. So everyone's helping out the other small guys. So even though, you might go to Newstead to buy some beers, but you can buy some cheese and some mushrooms and some fresh veggies while you're there as well now. It's been amazing to see those kinds of initiatives popping up.
I mean, we've done at our end in a very small way. We've done two mixed hop packs so far.
Yeah, so
with
you've done
brewers.
Yeah, so and they're all sort of local Victorian breweries that you've done those with.
Correct, and we're about to launch a dark mixed pack.
Nice,
which will be 8. Yeah, which will be 8 different dark beers as well. And we've participated in some gift packs. I mean, Hop Nation put together a wonderful gift pack, which we were lucky enough to participate in. Look, the industry in general tends to be very supportive. And this is why it's very important to support independent brewers. Because look at the ethos of what's happening. Look at what these guys are doing and how they are behaving towards each other, and what they're doing.
Exactly, yep. Really good point. So
I think the fundamental difference, if I wanted to put it into a nutshell, because we're talking about tap contracts again, is the minute we all hit a crisis, the independents got together and tried to help each other out of a hole.
Yeah.
Whereas the big guys tried to lock down some more taps and make sure more people were out of business rather than to help everybody stay in business.
Yeah, yeah. So support the little guys, because the little guys are the ones that are supporting all the other little guys as well.
That, and as well, people forget that our whole craft beer revolution happened because we got fed up of the snake oil salesman, of the industrial piss that was being thrown at us. We wanted to express our uniqueness and our creativity. And it's the little guy who's doing exciting things. You have wonderful little breweries, engaging with locals, producing wonderful produce, being passionate about what they do.
Yeah, yep. So, mate, for some people who maybe haven't been drinking craft beer for very long, or they've sort of not really been taking too much notice of what they're drinking, it can be a little bit confusing, the landscape. You go into a bottle shop, you've got certain beers that you just know are either independent or not, but there are others out there that are sort of, sitting there behind a little mask and trying to be independent. So have you got any tips for people? How can you spot independent? What's the best way at the moment for people to make sure that they're buying independent?
Well, I mean, the IBA did an initiative which, first of all, the Brewers Association in the US did an initiative where they put an independent seal.
Yes.
And they offered it to all independent brewers. And it has been picked up by, I think, 85% of all independent brewers now in the US have that seal on all the package that goes out. Yep. So that's an easy way for Americans to understand who's independent and who's not. The Independent Brewers Association in Australia went and kind of replicated that with the Indie seal. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, they then went and put a restriction of you have to be a member of the group to prove that you're independent, which is why we took the position of actually putting it straight on our can, saying independent.
Yep.
Because we felt that was wrong. The knowledge is out there. It's very easy to understand who is independent and who's not.
Yeah.
It's very easy to understand that, Pirate Life, Walter, Four Pines, Green Beacon are no longer independent.
Yeah,
it's very easy to understand that Newstead, Hawkers, Hop Nation, whoever. There's 800 other brewers out there that are completely independent and small and doing wonderful things.
Yeah, I mean, and all you've got to do is, if you see a brewery, you think you like the idea of, having a couple of their beers, jump onto their website. Check out the provenance. Yeah. You'll usually find on the websites that, like Black Hops, it says on there, made by three mates from Burley. It's right there. The writing's on the wall, basically.
But be very careful, because it's not always on the wall. Because if you look at the Pirate Life website, it still says Adelaide, where the headquarters is in South Bank, Victoria, and the board of directors is a Brazilian and American, and so Belgian, and it's not. The website is a good reference point to start off with, but if you suspect someone is ask your bottle shop. Yep. And if you're not convinced with the answer, ask your friends, go online. There's lots of resources out there to identify who is and who isn't.
There's plenty of people that know absolutely everything on Facebook.
Yeah, apparently. If it's on Facebook, it must be true.
Yes. So, and one of the questions I had for you was that you've got proudly on the front of your cans, Melbourne brewed independent beer. I love that. I mean, it's taking the guesswork out of it for everybody. But was that, and you sort of did say that it was a decision you took because of the stance of the Independent Brewers Association. So you've decided to pop that on there. Great work. Absolutely love it. Was there any other factors that sort of brought that on?
We actually took that decision earlier. So when I moved to Australia 6 years ago now, the whole project of Hawkers started off with me exporting my Lebanese beer to Australia.
Uh-huh.
And one day I was with my distributor in Sydney, and we were hawking the beer. We were knocking door to door. He said, "Oh, you've gone back to your roots." And I said, "What do you mean? I had never heard the word hawkers in my life."
Yeah.
And he said, "The original Lebanese immigrants to Australia were hawkers." And I thought, if I ever do anything in Australia, that's got to be the name.
Yep.
And so when I moved here, I had been completely new to the culture. We had a little guy in a wheelbarrow pushing a bunch of beer, and it said hawkers, and we had an explanation of hawkers, and the guy graphically was very difficult to use. He was too fine, and the font was just Helvetica Nuve, and from a graphic perspective, it was giving us a lot of headaches. And then I applied for my citizenship, and I'm now Australian. And I thought that was the perfect transition to remove the guy and put the Federation star.
Yes. Yep.
For what it represents in terms of the national identity, because now the hawker has put his cart into the shed and opened up a little store.
Yep.
And this is the story of why we changed our branding. Now, that the fact that we put independent beer and Melbourne brewed was basically because we felt we had taken the decision before the IBA, and we kind of waited on the IBA to make that seal available to decide whether we were going to use it or not. And we put it there just to make a statement, because for a long time, after our launch 5 years ago, we became the center of a lot of speculation about takeover. Every time someone got bought over, people would come up and say, Hawkers is next.
Yeah.
And so I just got fed up of the whole story and just
flew
the flag, so to speak.
Yeah, no, that's good. And it's good that you did that and you jumped the gun on it, because quite often, where there's smoke, there's fire. And I'm not saying every time, but say like with Green Beacon, there was rumors for, a year and a half before that happened. And same with Bolter as well. And a lot of people now, the second somebody starts a rumor about a brewery going to be bought out, it's where there's smoke, there's fire. It's got to be true then.
The unfortunate thing is these buyouts. Look, I am not against people selling out. Let's be clear. I have no problem if you've started a business, good on you. Someone throws a hoard of cash at you, or you're fed up. The guys at Mountain Goat were there for 19 years.
Yep.
Good on them.
Yeah.
Every business, it doesn't matter if you sell out. At some point, the owner is going to retire, right? Whether it's a sale, whatever it is, whether it's passing the baton to the kid, whatever. So that isn't my issue. My issue isn't small versus big.
Yeah.
My issue is the practices of the big guys, because they're coming into the market and they are leveraging their financial power to basically block the small producer from access to the market.
Yep.
Now, if the product was so great, let the consumer choose. Let's put a Hawker's IPA right next to a Bolter IPA and let the consumer choose. They might choose Bolter. It doesn't matter. But they have a choice.
Yeah.
Right now, we can't get into the market. Okay, I picked Bolter. Maybe Bolter is a new acquisition, but let's, Four Pines or Pirate Life or whatever the hell is being brewed out of Cascade these days.
Yep.
So the problem is they're not allowing access to the market, which is hindering our ability to expand the message of craft beer to the 95% of people who don't drink craft beer.
Yeah.
Australia and the US the craft beer revolution started at the same time period. We're 30% in the US, we're 5% in Australia. And it's not about the population size. This is a percentage. It's about our access and our ability to engage with our consumers. So that is the problem. When people go Pirate Life and Bolter got bought by the big guys, they're chump change. They're basically sock fillings. In a tap contract, when you have 10 taps and you've got 8 taps to fill, Bolter is just acting as a block so that they can keep the tap for the real money maker, which is Carlton Draft.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
If you think that Furphy last year sold 27 million liters of beer. To put it into perspective, Stone and Wood, the biggest independent brewer, sold 12 million liters of beer.
Yeah.
After 10 years of operation, we do 3.5 million liters of beer. Furphy did 27 million.
Yeah.
Goat in its first year since inception did 5 million liters. So they're not buying these brands because they love craft beer.
Yeah.
They're buying these brands to offer a tap so that they can defend their territory for the shit beer that they're putting on.
Yes. Yeah. There's more and more of us people who are chasing good beer. Therefore, it's just another tap that, we might sort of tend to go for if there isn't something else, instead of going in and going, have you got any good beer? No. Well, I might leave.
Yeah. So now, if you walk into most bars today that are contracted, they look like they're supporting a lot of local business.
Yes. Yep.
They've got Four Pines, Pirate Life, Green Beacon, Bolter, Cricketer's Arms, Mountain Goat.
Yeah. So it can be really tricky for people, who, as we said before, people that are only either starting to get into good beer or maybe just sort of haven't, spent a lot of time on forums or whatever talking about beer to other people all the time. It can be a really tricky landscape. So, yeah, people just need to sort of spend their money a bit more wisely, look into where it's going.
Yeah, and especially but you know what, to the credit of people, we've seen this during COVID. Yep. We have a little discount for the locals around us, and people have been coming in going, no, I don't want my discount. Thank you very much. I'm here to support you.
Yeah, that's really
and it's really been touching.
Yeah, that's really cool. So, all right, well, I've got one last question for you. Now, on your website, I'm going to read this because I don't want to get it wrong. You proclaim to be fiercely independent and with an unconditional commitment to converting 100% of the market to drinking better beers. Now, that is a massive statement, Mazen. How are some of the ways that you guys are going about this?
We're not saying we're going to be able to do 100%. Yeah, but we're definitely going to die trying.
Yeah, no,
for sure. So
awesome mission statement, though.
Yeah. So for us, we're very passionate about what we do. Right?
Yeah.
And I hope it reflects for people in our beers. We spend a lot of energy. We don't cut any corners making our beers. They're full flavored. We use the best possible ingredients.
They are very full flavored, and they are made with the very best possible ingredients. Bloody tasty.
Thank you. And we spend a lot of energy perfecting it. So we've always had this drive to improve and tweak and improve and tweak, and to get to the point where we're 100% satisfied with what we do.
Yep.
It sometimes seems easier and more tempting to just keep churning new beers out. Mm-hmm. But as a craftsman, I'm very focused on perfecting what I do.
Yes. Yep.
And I have a team of people who know 100% more than I do about beer. I thought I was knowledgeable about beer, and we have a very, very talented bunch of complete fanatics who love what they do. But being the best at what you do isn't the goal. The goal is to get the message across to people. And sometimes we get stuck in our snobbery in craft beer, and we say, that idiot drinks Carlton Draft. Well, 95% of the population thinks that we're the idiots.
Yes.
And if you follow the herd, we're the guys who drink this weird, flowery smelling, fruity. Yeah, that crap bitter stuff. It must have been a homebrew that went wrong, right?
Yep.
The other thing is we always tend to forget, even within our craft beer circles, that individually as human beings, we have different palates. So if we all shared the same lemon, we would all perceive that lemon differently. Mm-hmm. So our palate is geared and sensitive to things differently, uniquely to us. Layer on top of it, preferences. So we might taste sour differently, but then some of us might like sour, some of us might hate sour. And so you have a bandwidth of palate and flavor and preference that is so different. So when someone says, I love Carlton Draft, fine. I don't look down on it.
No,
I'm also not an advocate of, it's beer, whatever. No, I think it's shit beer, and I think it's made terribly. But I can accept that people have different tastes. Sometimes you have horrible, you have Mackers. It's terrible. It's like shit. You feel terrible the next day.
Yeah.
But I'm addicted to chicken nuggets. I love chicken nuggets. What can I do? It's my kryptonite. So the way we go, it's my cult and draft. So the way we go about converting people is through education, because I think the vast majority of the 95% of people have not been exposed to something else. And if they have not been taken on the journey of tasting. When you taste an IPA for the first time, it's very confronting if you've moved from cult and draft to this without any background information.
Yes.
It's a journey. And having someone there guide you through the journey, explain why this is what it is, generally tends to help. And it might not be an IPA. It might be a sour. It might be a stout. It might be whatever.
Yep.
But so the way we do it is by trying to engage, trying to be very humble about what we do, in the sense that there's no right or wrong answer. There are preferences. And understanding that whatever opinions that we give are just that, they are opinions. And then engaging with our local community. That's how you start planting the seeds. And it's like a coronavirus. You convert someone, they go and talk to their friends, and then they convert 2 other people. And all of a sudden you've got a snowball.
And one's
very
washed
quickly
their
you have
hands.
And very quickly you have a pandemic, and fucking cult and draft is dead, hopefully. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I mean, it's exactly why I do what I do as well. And I do it, as you say, just trying to educate people, trying to let them know that, it's not all just flowery, shit tasting beer to everybody. It's, every individual has their own taste. Everyone's going to like their own different type. There's got to be a craft beer out there for everybody,
Yeah, very much so. And I think sometimes we get stuck into our habits as craft beer drinkers, and we become very patronizing and condescending to people outside our little bubble. Yeah, and I think a bit of humility in that sense. If you're talking to me on a technical level, I can bash the shit out of a lot of beers, but I can never bash the shit out of your own preferences, because who am I to say my preferences are any better than yours, right? And I find it amusing sometimes, the comments, like literally, if you go on to Untapped, I mean, the percentage of keyboard warrior idiots that are out there is just hilarious.
Yeah.
We had someone say, it's a Pilsner. No more interesting than that. Well, you just bought a Pilsner. What were you expecting? A double hopped IPA?
Yeah. Yep. I saw a couple of good ones online today, actually. Some people had posted, a few brewery owners had posted Untapped comments about their beers that were like, I bought a smoky beer. I don't like peat, so this is horrible.
I mean, my favorite one relating to this beer, to this IPA, let me put it in front of me so that we can see it.
Yep.
So this IPA, someone posted, too bitter, can't drink a slab. Thank God.
Good on you if you could.
Thank God you're not drinking a slab. I don't want anyone drinking a slab of IPA.
Hopefully, mate, we can just slowly get there, educate as many people as we can, and turn as many people as we can to drinking good beer.
And have fun doing it, right?
Absolutely.
It's all about having fun doing it.
Yeah.
And it's about taking care of each other as we do it. Because this COVID thing has really brought out some of the best in people.
Definitely.
And it's brought people together, and it's brought people very focused on making it to the other side. Not just in the beer world. I can tell you from myself, I'm buying coffees from my favorite cafe. I'm buying goods from my favorite deli. And it's just ensuring that, taking care of everybody, making sure everybody's okay.
Absolutely, mate. Well, Mazen, thank you very much for joining me tonight for this little chat. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for making this amazing beer. It is awesome. And
thank you for having me, and cheers.
No problems, mate, and good luck with the rest of everything that's going on, and look forward to seeing you on the other side.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So thanks very much to Mazen for that. It was a really insightful chat. It just goes to show you, like these small breweries, when all of this first kicked off, the whole COVID thing went sort of into overdrive once they started bringing in the restrictions, and all the pubs and venues that were selling kegged beer had to close. All of those kegs were returned. I know that, Black Hops had something like 600 kegs sitting there that were ready to go, and they, weren't sure what they were going to do with them. They weren't really prepared to do 19-litre keg fills for people just because of the chance of oxidization. So it wasn't a chance for them to get rid of those beers, and a lot of beer has had to sort of go to waste. And that's why it is really, really important that we go and support these businesses now, because they did take a massive hit when all of this first kicked off. And then as things have drawn out, it's just been harder and harder for them to make a dollar. Hopefully now, with restrictions starting to ease in the next couple of weeks, you'll be allowed to have 20 people in a venue, and then a month after that, you're going to be allowed to have 100 people in a venue. So hopefully things are going to go back to a stage where these breweries can start making some money back off everything that's been happening. So guys, where you can, try and buy independent. Go out there, help local jobs, help local breweries, and in the meantime, stay cool. Cheers, everybody. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Turn on the notifications so that you never miss the next drink. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye, everybody. Cheers.